Hey, it's Dorleen. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm working on what I'm calling a Pinata card. So first thing I'm going to do is go to my Cricut and I'm going to design the front of the card. Basically, I'm making a frame. It's similar to what you would do if you're making a shaker card, but a little bit different. So what I did is I did basic shape square, and then I unlocked it, and then I made it to the dimensions I needed. I copied it, and then I made it 3/4 of an inch, a little bit smaller, centered or aligned them in the middle, and then sliced it. And then I cut out or deleted the middle. So I did it first with a 1/2 inch border, and this one was a 3/4 inch border, which I liked a lot better. So I'm making this for male graduate. So I hit the search or the images, and I searched for graduate, and I found a really good a couple of different options, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do until I started playing with it. So when you select a bunch of images and then bring it over, they all kind of come in this really large group. So while it's still grouped, I just randomly change the size to make them a little bit smaller. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of playing with the placement. I do end up liking the graduate who's on there right now, and I decided I wanted to make him bigger so that he was covering that left side of that the frame. And then I decided I wanted to put the words congrats on there. I again copied a couple or downloaded, selected, whatever you want to call it, a couple of options. I did decide to go with this very simple congrats that I'm playing with right here. So I went ahead and removed all the other pieces. But what I wanted to do as well with that congrats is I needed it to sit on something. So that's why I hit that offset button to create the offset around it. And then what I did is it defaults as black, so I changed the color to red, hit the contour button to get rid of that little hole in the middle of that O, and then grouped it together so I could make the change on the size without doing one, so it stays together. Love the way that looked. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my cards section so I won't lose anything I've done. I do that before I hit make it. Now the one thing I didn't show you is, you see in the middle of the frame, that was empty, and then the word congrats was over there over on the side when it shows the mat on make it. So I moved congrats to the middle of the frame because I knew that was just going to be paper that was cut out, and so saved some paper. And also I may be able to use that congrats leftover on a different project. So now I'm just deciding where I'm putting the frame. I did use a pencil to do some little marks before I put down the foam adhesive. So again, it's similar to making a shaker card as far as making a whale, W-E-L-L, and that's what I'm calling it, in the middle of the card. So I just put that on top to make sure I did it right, and I did. Thank you. I did have a little bit of leeway because the frame was 3/4 inch thick and that foam tape was just a little bit thinner. Now I'm just using some liquid adhesive to attach the word congrats to the offset. Super simple. I usually use my fingers because, like I've said before, that is my favorite tool. But really with those smaller pieces, I really do need to get in the habit of using my tweezers. It's still a little awkward for me. I don't know why, but it does definitely make a big difference without getting glue all over your fingers, and also just an easier way to handle those small pieces. So like I said before, I'm just gluing the frame portion, and I'm just gluing the ends that are going to be on the frame because I don't want glue in the middle of this image, if that makes sense. And the reason why is because I don't want it to attach to the fringe, which I will be adding to or underneath this frame. So I'm going to put that aside right now, and now I'm working on the actual piñata part, or what I'm calling piñata, only because it has the fringes, and you do break away to get to whatever it is. In this particular card, I put cash in, but you can also use a gift card. So I did pull out a bunch of confetti that I have, and I have to tell you, I'm one of those people that when you go to a party and there's confetti on the table, I'll gather it because I use it for stuff like this. I know I'm a freak. My husband cracks me up and he thinks I'm crazy, but he's not wrong. So the important thing to do is make some sort of pull tab. So I did grab a piece of black twine. The graduation or the graduates school colors are red and really more like a crimson gray, but I didn't have that in a tissue or crepe paper. But so I used black and white, and I think my white's so old that it did look a little gray, so it worked out actually perfect for this card. But I just adhered 2 pieces of paper, and you saw that I just cut it from hand cut it from the scrap of the frame. Now if you wanted to get fancier and do some sort of shape, that would definitely be up to you. But what this does is you place it inside of the well, and so when the person pulls the string, that's what opens up or gives it a little bit more weight, I guess, to pull up that tissue. So again, very simple card as far as the decorations, but I did have a little bit of problems with the making it because this was my first time, but it actually is pretty easy and pretty fun. I did write the word pull on the end of the one tab just so the recipient knew what to do with it, especially if you're mailing this or giving it to someone and they're opening the cards later. And I just used my double-sided adhesive to stick those together. So again, super simple, nothing fancy. And I did write a little note on the one tab. But so that will be left there. Now again, I mentioned, or maybe I didn't mention, that you're going to be making fringes and you can use tissue. I didn't have colored tissue, so I had some crepe paper and I just, sectioned off a huge long string of it, of of all 3 colors, which is white, black, red. And I used some fringe scissors to cut fringes all the way across the whole entire length of the crepe paper that I had cut off. Now you can use regular scissors, but if you have fringe scissors, they sure do save a little bit of time. I also have seen people have a die that can do that as well. So what I did is I cut a piece of regular tissue, and it's a little bit smaller than the frame because I do want the stickiness to still show, because I'm going to need it for the fringes on the right and left sides. So I just pulled, like I said, a white piece of tissue paper, just one layer, and put it over the adhesive, and that holds the money in. Now I am such a dodo because I did have a bunch of confetti, and now I'm like, what in the world? So I just ended up peeling off that tissue because I really did want to add some confetti to that. And so I ended up just pulling off all that tissue, like I said. And then I kind of thought, because when I was putting this together, I just had one layer of the 3D foam, and I thought, well, you know what? I did want to do 2. So I went ahead and added a second layer of the foam just to make that well a little bit higher. Now this 3D foam, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not really sure where I bought it, but it's pretty thin. There's different thicknesses on the 3D foam, and most of the time I only want it to be kind of thin. So even though I doubled up, it wasn't so high where it wasn't going to fit in a car or in an envelope. So like I had mentioned, I am that random person who grabs confetti off tables. And so that's where I got this like graduation confetti. Now, like I said, the graduate colors are red. But there were the words congrats. So I added a couple of those. I added some stars. And then these are some foil confetti that I probably bought at the dollar store, because that seems to be where I buy a lot of my confetti. They have some really cute variety. But I added some black and some red. And I wasn't what's the word I'm thinking of? I didn't need to put so much confetti in here. It was more for just like the effect, because it's not a shaker card, so it didn't have to be filled up with confetti. So what I decided to do this time is, I don't know if you noticed when I was putting the tissue down the first time, is I ended up taking all the liners off, and then it was kind of like a big fat, I don't know, I don't know what you call it, but it was a jumbled mess. So I decided just to do one side at a time. And I think that really did help with making that tissue a lot flatter, where the other one seemed to have like a pillow effect. So that's a good tip. And again, this is the first time I've made this card, so this is all a learning process. And hopefully you can watch this and get some ideas on when you make yours. So once I did that, I did add a little bit of liquid glue on the right and left edges, because the tissue paper, the one that you put down, because that's what holds the money and the confetti in the card, there was just a little bit of adhesive left over on those sides. Now, for the most part, it was okay, but I added that glue just to give it a little bit more adhesion. So I just layered, or I went, in color, red, black, white, all the way to the end. And I ended up going, once I put that top layer down, I realized that bottom layer needed a second thickness or something of fringe. So I added I think I added white, but, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim the fringe. Oh, I added another red. Okay. I ended up trimming the fringe with my scissors as much as I could here, and then I'll clean it up a little bit later. But I hope you like this video, and if you do, give me a thumbs up. I do at least 2 videos a week. One is always scrapbooking, and the other is whatever it is I'm creating in the command center. All the cardstock that I use with this project are from cutcardstock.com, and I'll have a link below with their website. The paper there is the variety is great, paper quality is great, the cost is great, and they're always having sales. I am a member of their design team, and I absolutely love their papers, and I am so glad that I found them, because like I said, there's lots of variety, lots of types of papers. They even have envelopes and a lot of other things. But anyhow, back to the card. So the one thing to note too is that little pull tab. You got to make sure that it's inside of the frame, because that way they're pulling through the tissue, not your or the cardstock. So you'll see that how I have the string is like on the outside. But you see how I just used some more liquid glue just to attach the frame, and I ended up putting an acrylic block on that just to hold down the glue. And then once that's done, once that's very adhered to all the fringe and everything, and then I just trimmed off the bottom fringe and any of the side ones that were really sticking out. And then because it's a flat card, I put my sentiment or my greeting in the back. But I do hope you like this card. It was really super fun to make. Thanks for watching. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button. And there it is, all opened up. Bye.